Hello everyone, I hope you're doing well. Welcome to today's race at the fantastic Le Mans. It's been a difficult week for me here recently, so I've decided to make a change, and as you can see just coming up here, that white Porsche is me. I've swapped out from my venerable BMW M8 just to try and change things up, and so far actually it's proven successful. Though I still have to overcome what has been dogging me here, which has been my consistency and my pace. So we're starting from the back in P18, and I'm aiming today to be as smooth and as consistent as possible. And straight away, someone else is not being smooth and consistent, as we see that Corvette off to the right. He's rejoining, but we get past safely. Now I'm going to be very cautious. Just look at how careful I'm being on the throttle and my inputs here. On cold tyres with such low wing settings, you have to be ever so careful. As you see there, I just go completely wide. The front tyre is just not gripping up whatsoever. Now we're onto the Mulsanne straight here, and we can see the first group of cars ahead of us having a bit of a battle. That poor Ferrari being left out dry there. I'm going to just play it very safe on this first lap and give them a good safe gap just in case any shenanigans start happening. As we come up to the first chicane here, playing very careful, braking nice and early, so I'm going to aim to get a good setup for the exit. We can see that Ferrari goes wide there, misses braking point, so I'm going to slip down the inside. But it's not over just there, as we're going to see here. So cutting to this lovely gyro camera, this was leading into the first chicane. You can see the Ferrari goes wide and we slip underneath quite happily, but this was the challenge I've been facing all this week, where the slipstream is just so strong and some of these cars are so fast even without it. As you can see here, this Ferrari is starting to already claw us back even if he's not in our slipstream. So I've got to really try and use the track, both the middle where it's supposed to help you and try to give him enough of a gap. Thankfully this occasion he backs out, so I can just take the corner and maximize the track as much as possible, because that was so key to getting the good times around here. So carrying on here, we've got past the Ferrari, but he's sticking with us thanks to that slipstream, and my goal here is trying to catch up to that next group ahead of us. We're just outside of car number 9, Cripps. Yep, Cripps. He's 1.6 seconds ahead of us, so my goal is to try and use the fact that he's working in a group and they may be slower through the corners to catch up and get inside that 1 second gap. But we can see behind us that Ferrari's coming back at us. Metcalf has got some good straight line speed, but he does back out once again. I'm hoping that we can work together here in order to catch that group ahead. You can see he's under pressure from that Corvette that went off earlier, car number 25 for Zera. I'm going to have to see how that plays out for him. All I can do now is just focus on my exits, because they are so crucial here. You have to stay extremely smooth and consistent around the Mans, which is what I've been struggling with all week. But I have a feeling that it's finally going to pay dividends here. So we're coming up to the Porsche curves, and this is where I had been struggling in the BMW. It was so twitchy on the rear, but you can see here the Porsche is just so planted, so well balanced around here. I'm able to carry the speed and slow the car down, especially for this tricky section here where you're going to stay to the right and then jump over to the left. Now I do miss the apex, but I'm just able to carry the speed, and you can see we've closed up quite nicely to that BMW ahead of us, now 1.4 seconds, and we've got a good gap now to Becerra, who has gone past the Ferrari that was behind us. But that is the first lap, and surprisingly clean around here in a top split race. So we'll have a quick look at some of the incidents and what we didn't see on that first one. So starting off here, this was Becerra on the lead lap. And we're going to see he's a bit aggressive into the corner. He gets to slide on the first part, and then through the second, as he gets the power down, he just completely loses the rear on those cold tyres. Thankfully he's able to gather it up nice and safely and carry on. Now this was behind us. This Kodak Porsche was going to have a few incidents over the course of the race, and this is how it began for him. So just down the inside there, he's not going to get it stopped on those cold tyres, and so he clatters that poor Ferrari. They have a bit of an extra impact there. and we see a car having to slow up for them. Now this is later in the lap and there was no love lost between these two, as we're about to see. Porsche gets down the inside quite easy, but Ferrari's coming back at him, but again he just can't stop, and the poor Porsche gets sent into the wall, and then for good measure gets collected by the BMW. So carrying on now onto lap 2, we're doing our best here to catch up to that group, and we're slowly doing it, though with the slipstream that they're carrying it's making it very difficult down the Mulsanne straight here. I've just got to bide my time and stay smooth and consistent in order to try and make up that time, because once I get into that 1 second gap I will be very safe at that stage. I am also watching them because they are racing close together, and you can see ahead, unfortunately they come into an incident. I've got to really check up there, especially with that Corvette off to the right, but we thankfully get through. But it has cost us a lot of time, even though we have gained 3 positions there. So we'll see what exactly just happened. This BMW sends from so far back, or just misses his braking point and collects that Corvette and the lead BMW. As we see here, thankfully that lead BMW seems to get off lightly with the damage, though he almost gets hit again by the Corvette. And that Corvette certainly came off the worst. There you can see he has the front end and rear end damage. Luckily that lead BMW is able to continue. And again, this Kodak Porsche finds himself in another incident, this time coming together with a big hit on that BMW. He's not had a good race at all, and unfortunately for him that was the end of it. Now, after that we are in danger here, because Becerra has been able to catch up with how much I had to slow down for that incident. He's less than 5 tenths behind us here, so this is going to be very dangerous for me. I don't know if he's going to want to work together, and there is now a big gap to us and the group ahead. So it's very likely here I'm going to have to start defending even at this early stage. But we could still make that work. It is just the two of us, as you can see there in the bottom right. The car next behind is over 2 seconds, so as long as we don't compromise ourselves too much, this could stay as just a 2-car race between me and Becerra. So, through Indianapolis, again, focusing on those exits, they are so key here, but the Porsche was lovely. I had a great deal of confidence in the rotation of the car, but I did have to be careful with my lead foot. As you can see, the blue lights, the traction control system, as great as it is on these GTE cars, where you have traction control and a slip allowance, so the car would allow itself to slide a little bit just so you could get that extra rotation. It was still very easy to overdo it. But again, through the Porsche curves here, though, I'm being a bit cautious. As you can see, Becerra's closing up behind us. The car was excellent. This was where I really had so much more confidence driving this car.
The leader has just done a 3:45.5.
You can see those crazy times the aliens ahead were all pushing at. 3:45 is not something I could ever see myself doing, though I wish I could. But it helps when you're Eureka Kasdorp, or Yuri, as some of you might recognise. He was having a hell of a race with car number 3. And it was just in amazement, whilst I was at best with 3:48.
51.6.
Well, that seemed to be how this race was panning out so far. We were all having little battles in our groups, as me and Becerra here were still quite lodged in behind, but you can see that Porsche of car 18 is not too far behind, so we've still got to keep it nice and clean here and not compromise ourselves. So it seems, at least for the moment, Becerra is just happily following behind me, though he is dropping back a bit. I've got to focus here, good exit onto the Mulsanne straight, carrying the speed, being on the throttle without going too far wide, and we've done it just about. Becerra almost hitting a second there, but he's going to start clawing it back, as that Corvette was another car that was exceptionally fast in a straight line. The Porsche was good itself, but it seemed to favour more through the corners, which is where I was hoping I could exercise my strength. Braking late as I dare there, and then just getting the car slowed up nicely. You see Becerra behind us gets very close to us. I'm not sure if he missed his braking point there, so we'll have a quick look exactly what happened. You can see he's some distance behind, so he's not really going to be able to send it. And he reaches his braking marker, but he's just not slowing down enough. You can see he's really dangerous there to get in a slowdown. Thankfully, we're far enough ahead to be safe. And then it got interesting later in the same lap. So here he'd just been following us through Indianapolis and he gets a bad exit. And then for whatever reason, he just starts pulling to left and hits the barrier and stops in the racing line, which is dangerous. As we see here, he gets collected by one of the cars following. So we'll see from their perspective. You can see they're nice and close together there. He can't see too far ahead. It's going to be some cat-like reflexes. He just clatters him, which I think was a bit of netcode involved there. So we'll rejoin our race further on, lap 7. Now we had actually managed to claw some time to the car ahead of us, number 20, Metas, in another Porsche.
Pit lane speed limit
And we're entering a
60
crucial phase here,
km/h.
pit stop.
Will fill you to the end of the race.
As I was hoping, through a little bit of the fuel saving I had been doing, I might be able to catch
Flanagan
up more
behind is
through
pitting
the
now.
pit. So we were less than a
Box
second
in,
off the entry
5,
here. I'm going to see how close.
3,
I'm also having to make a quick
2,
adjustment because you can see
1.
crew chief there was really trying to
Box
overfuel
now.
me. The I overlay fuel target there is very accurate, so I am still
Front
playing it
left,
safe though, just for now,
92%. Left rear 92.
as I hadn't checked if this might go an extra lap. As you can see in the top left there, it's sat on 11.75 laps, so it could potentially go the extra lap. There we go, we're moving, and so is Metas, but we're right behind him now. Going to increase a little bit on the pit exit as he gets going,
The pit exit is clear. Push now.
but we are now sternly in his slipstream, so we're going to be having a good fight with him for P10. But this is still a long race. We're only on lap 8 here, so I don't want to make the move too soon just yet. I want to settle in behind him and see how he's racing exactly. Through this section now, the tyres are warm. You really can get the car in, use the camber and the banking of the track. And focusing again for a good exit. I got a little bit wide, but I'm good on the speed and getting on the throttle again. And you can see we're now 8 tenths behind Metas, so we're going to slowly claw him back in.
The gap's now 0.8.
You see we started at 0.8, already down to 0.7. We should be about 0.6 going into the braking zone. And we'll see how we compare to him here. Down to 0.5, and we're a bit later on the brakes. Just about able to get it stopped and get on the power nice and gently. See the traction control system flashing a bit there as I'm being a bit too eager. Do have to be careful with the Porsche over the curbs. It does not like the curbs a lot in this kind of setup. So Metas is trying to not give us a slipstream, which I'm okay with at this stage. I want to keep a good gap to him as I'm still evaluating it. But I am going to start moving over now, so I'm prepared for my braking zone. Braking a little early, and again getting the car slowed up, aiming to be on the power. I get on a bit too quick there, and the rear starts going, so I have to recollect it. And we lose all that time we just made up towards him. So we're going to push forward again, because it took a few laps. So we're back onto lap 10 here, and I've managed to close up once more, as both just keeping that smooth consistency was so key to the lap time here. And you can see the delta difference in the top left there. Our last lap was 1.1 seconds faster than Metas, so we know we have the pace. It's just going to be setting ourselves up for the best possible overtake opportunity here, and then trying to push and break that slipstream. We're not the only one though. As you can see behind us, car number 16, Flanagan in the Ferrari, is on a monster recovery there, making up 9 positions, and he is also 1.5 seconds faster than us. So I've got to keep that in mind, that any mistake, any slowing us down in this battle could potentially bring Flanagan into this and make it much more dangerous for us trying to take and hold P10. So again, just getting the car stopped here, focusing on getting on the power, getting the exit. There was a little bit of a slip, but Metas doesn't do much better, and you can see just how firmly we are lodged in behind him here. So I'm aiming to try and get ahead of him before the Porsche curves, as I feel that would be the best opportunity to break the slipstream. So I'm just happy to sit behind him for now. I don't need to save fuel or anything. This is just purely the tactical element. See, he's going a bit deep there. He's a bit later on power, so we just quite happily stay up close with him.
College A-check, car number 3 is leading the race.
Now this would be the great opportunity. If I can get up alongside him into the braking zone, I might be able to get ahead before Indianapolis. So I'm going to have a look to the inside here. But I can sort of see he's coming across and the gap is going to close, so I back out of it. Don't want to make too much of a commitment there where we could potentially end both of our races, as we still have a few laps left here.
Come on, we need to be in front of this guy.
So it's looking like I'm not going to be ahead into the Porsche curves here unless he makes a mistake through Indianapolis, but he has been very consistent as well as getting a good exit out of Arnage.
You've got half your fuel left.
Here we go, we both seem to nail our braking markers. You can see he's really pushing as he runs wide there. Perhaps some of the pressure starting to build up and get to him. He's really good through that corner there. You can see he gets slightly better exit from as he starts to pull away. But that slipstream is just so strong here, so I'm able to just stay with him. If we had longer, you can see we were actually starting to catch up to one of the cars ahead of us. But as we come through the Porsche curves here, he's a bit slower, so I'm again using caution, trying to leave a gap in case something happens, because if he makes a mistake, I don't want to be collected by it. But we're both being nice and smooth, and being a bit cautious on the exit there, as that slowdown is very easy to get if you go too far over the curbs. I don't want to close up too much here, coming into the last chicane, so I'm a bit slower. Just aiming again for a good exit. That's what's going to keep me with him. There you go, we're still 4/10 behind.
Only 2 more laps of fuel. The lap time was at 3:49.4 seconds.
So with 2 laps to go, I'm into my window here where I could try to make a move, which would then potentially give me time to break the toe to him. So I'm going to close up here, and I'm going to see how we compare when we come onto the Mulsanne straight, as that will give me the time to decide where I could try and make the move. I could actually be a bit further back here, so that would give me a better run. You can see he's very slow, much harder on the brakes. We are now lodged right up behind him as we come onto the Mulsanne straight. So I'm going to take some of that slipstream, and as I see we've started to get enough of an overlap, we're going to move far to the right side here. I don't want to give him my side track, or he could come back at me. You can see we are very equally matched. At least he then backs out of it, so you can see now it's my turn to lead between us, and Metas is going to see if he can stay within the slipstream, but I've got to try and break that now as best as I can. Now we've already got a good start there, we're up to 6/10 by just again focusing on that exit. This is where I'd really struggled, but now I was finding my pace by getting those good exits. And even though he has the slipstream, as long as I can keep doing that, I will maintain my gap and eventually break it.
He's all over you. Keep your exit speeds up, stay smooth.
So trail braking through that first part, then getting on the power just before the second apex. And that's what's so crucial there. We're now nearly 8/10 ahead of him. If I can keep this up, hopefully we are going to break that slipstream, and that will cement our position here, as long as I don't make any mistakes. So the traction control fighting me once again. I'm trying to be too aggressive, but we're maintaining the gap. So it's now going to come down to Indianapolis and then the Porsche curbs. But we know Metas is still quite good around this sector, so it's unlikely that I'm going to break the toe unless he makes a mistake. And we've seen though how much he's been pushing to try and stay with me and stay ahead. very careful through that first part of Indianapolis. I've lost the rear of the car multiple times through there. You see now rear view mirror Metis goes wide and takes some of that sand. That slowed him up a little bit, and we managed to get a good exit there. He's still just within that second gap. So it's now going to come down to the Porsche curves. I'm trying to focus on my driving and not watch the relative on the bottom right, but it's so difficult in this sort of situation. I'm really focusing and trying to break that toe for him. And the Rasa car is much lighter now and able to carry so much more speed through the Porsche curves. I've really got to get to that apex and then get on the power, and we've done it just right here, and we've just pulled out a second gap, and that is exactly what we needed. And with that we come up towards the finish line, and we're going to finish in P10. An exceptional finish considering how far back we started, and it really showed my effort into being more consistent and smooth was going to pay off. So, I hope you have enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time for Daytona.